you'll never know me. Every day, it's as if I play a part. Now I see, if I wear a mask, I can fool the world, but I cannot fool my heart. You is that girl I see, staring straight back at me. When will my reflection show who I am inside? I am now in a world where I have to hide my heart, and that I believe it, but somehow I will show the world who I really am, and be loved for who I am. Who is that girl I see, staring straight back at me? Why is my reflection someone I don't know? Must I pretend that I'm someone else for all time? When will my reflection show who I am inside? There's a heart that must be free to love, that burns with the need to know the reason why must we all conceal what we think, how we feel? Must there be a secret me I'm close to hide? I won't pretend that I'm someone else for a time. When will my reflection show who I am inside? My reflection shows who I am
Yeah, there's no list.
I want the microphone.
Alright, so this next is going to be a slam poem that I wrote after visiting my family's homeland in Okinawa, which is an island off of Japan. That's very culturally separate from Japan, but politically it's controlled by the nation of Japan. So this is kind of talking about the like political unrest and contrast between the two. Okay. When I was a little girl, my mother would tell me stories of an island across the Pacific. It had beaches that surpassed our California coast, sands of the galaxy's stars, and waters bluer than anything she had ever seen. This was her mother's home. The music with a nostalgic twang and foods both foreign and familiar. For the longest time, this was Okinawa, a distant, mysterious princess I only knew from bedtime stories. But somewhere along the lines, I learned that Japan had rained a sea of blood over Asia. Facts of red seeped into my stories of blue as I realized that my people have been and are still seen as inferior. Once upon a time, Okinawa was a battleground. Civilians became soldiers at gunpoint, forced to help the supreme empire who protected us. These saviors claimed to die for us, when really we died for them. We sacrificed so much because if we didn't, they would have raped our land and the people of more than they already had. They twisted our minds into believing that death was better than a kneel to before the enemy. But who really is the enemy when the Americans would soon become allies, and when we would cry for help, when they too have robbed our people and raped our daughters, the state hides behind a defense treaty and pretends that we do not matter. They scoff at the way we speak and laugh at the way we dress, yet they still buy cheap trinkets from tourist shops that make them look cultured at a distance from which they feel comfortable. They pose in front of attractions but gloss over the meaning. They storm the bars, brothels, and beaches but turn away from memorials that mirror and peer right to the souls their people stole. They censor the suffering down to a footnote in their textbooks and fight for a national honor more than the civilians forced to submit to such an honorable nation. They love us, but they don't respect us. How can they stand and say this is depressing like it's a burden without even looking me in the eye? How can they not challenge the idea that maybe these memorials are not about how they feel, but about how we feel? They can just go and forget and go home when our home has become a stage to appease our lifelong oppressors. These war anecdotes are not train wrecks to entertain you. They're not sob stories to turn away to. This is our reality. These recollections of oppression are hard to digest, but it's even harder living with those memories and finding remnants of them every day. My people have suffered and died, but I will not ignore my privilege of having blood of the Japanese and having America as my home. Akin to Okinawans throughout history, I will take my nothingness, my persistence, my sorrow, and craft it into hope. With every chain that Japan had bound to Okinawa, she turned her restraints into strength. She turned war memories into poetry and U.S. occupation into a way of life. With every act of the oppressor, her reaction instilled a new art. With every strike and jab into the ground, she turned anger into compassion. And God knows when this war will truly end for Okinawa. God knows how long it will take for the Japanese to realize the fault in their stars. But until the moment the Japanese finally realize that Okinawans are people too, we must fight on. Okinawa is more than a prefecture of Japan. Her beauty is a multicultural masterpiece from all across Asia. Her body is a battlefield from World War II with scars and bruises still being uncovered. Her heart is born of hospitality and trained for dexterity. At last I have met my motherland, and she was more beautiful, more pained, and more resilient than my mother's stories ever could have painted. Okinawa is no princess, but a survivor from a dynasty long lost. I want this kingdom to be seen not as bullet fodder, not as a tourist attraction, but as human, with a plethora of stories to tell. Now if only the world would care to listen.